Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in for this event. I think Twitter is a fantastic platform, especially when you're starting out as an indie entrepreneur, where you're not sure, where you'll find like-minded people, where you'll find an audience, and it can be just the right place to get you started, but it can feel a bit overwhelming. There's politics, there's hate, there's spam. You don't know how to frame your messaging, what to say, what not to say, how to set up your account for success, how to let opportunities find you. I think that's why Kevon is amazing. He's a great teacher. I learned so much from him over the last 1.5 years about Twitter and how to build an engaged audience. And yeah, and he just released a book called Find Joy in Chaos. It's a fantastic book. I pre-ordered a copy. I read it. It's great. I think there's a lot to learn from Kevon, and in this session, we'll get to know him a little better. Kevon, thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me, Ayush. Happy to be here.
Sure.
I see a lot of familiar faces, so that's great. And I'm
Yes.
gonna kick off. Yeah,
Yeah, for
let's
sure.
do this.
Yes.
Okay, one
Yes.
second. Okay, let me share my screen. Wait, let me use this one. Okay. Are you seeing my screen right now?
Yes. You can see it.
Okay, cool. So today we're talking about how to build an engaged audience. And my name is Kevon. Probably you have or may not have heard my name on the internet or Twitter. It doesn't really matter. But I always love to kick off this kind of session with Groot here dancing for us because it's usually
Yes.
late night for us, so we need to wake up. And if I know a lot of people don't have their camera on, I don't know how it usually works here, but if you can, please turn it on. I think it'll be nice. And stay
Please.
muted. That would be nice as well. So
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk for maybe half an hour. I prepared a few things to say to you, and then we can do Q&A. But I
Awesome.
have to leave like maybe 55 because I have the book
Sure.
launch AMA next. Okay,
I know.
but first, if you don't have your camera on, if you have your camera on, join me to shake our bodies a little bit so that we're excited about this. I only seen Akil and Ayush, but that's good enough. Okay. And maybe a little bit about myself. I see Ara as well. Hey.
Yes.
All right.
Yay.
So a little bit about myself before we start, if you don't know me. So actually, yesterday I launched my first book, Find Joy in Chaos. So it's a Twitter book. I pretty much consolidate all my learnings and teaching in the last 18 months and give it to you. So other than that, I also run kind of like a brand called Public Lab. So all the content, newsletter, everything goes in there, and of course, building public mastery. So I'm the person who talks too much about building public, making Twitter friends, and also growing your creator business. But if you're wondering what I do before this, I have been in startup all my career, working in startup and also co-creating startup. So I call myself jack of all trades. I really do everything, including like administrative things like issuing invoice, including renovating the toilets for our business, everything, whatever you can think of. So that's a little bit about me. And then 18 months ago, I decided to get active online, and then the rest is history. Yeah, pretty much I found my niche and then start building credibility around it and then building a lot of products to help people out. But I don't want to bore you with my story. Today, I want you to walk away from this indie MBA session with like 3 things that you can really just take action right away. The first thing is if you're quite new to Twitter or audience building, I want to kind of give you a new perspective about what it is. And it is usually like a lot of people would get the wrong picture because of what is being shown in front of you. And I want to give you kind of like a different view from a different angle. And the second thing I want to show you is, of course, it's really chaotic and stressful to get on Twitter all the time. How do you get people to listen to you? So let's talk a little bit about that. And then at the end, let's talk about if you're building something new, how can you approach it so that it's more likely to be successful, less likely to be a failure. So let's jump into it. Like if you're new on Twitter, or if you have been using Twitter but not able to figure it out, this is kind of you, like, this is so hard, this is crazy. And I think the reason is because, this is how we think about Twitter. It's kind of like a performance. You're standing in the center of everyone, you're the spotlight, and you're supposed to do something so that people watch and say, hey, you do a good job, right? I think this is a pretty standard picture. And I have been spending a lot of time thinking about why all my students do the same thing when they first start on Twitter. And I realize it's actually, of course, not their fault. It's because just the way things are. Like we are so fascinated by all these different social media platforms, right? At the top, you see, oh my God, these Twitter followers, and then you see these TikTok followers, and then these Instagram followers. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I want to be like them. And so the first group of people we usually get in touch with or learn from are influencers on different platforms. And then you look at, I'm just making this example, like Beverly down there, Emily Beverly. If you're on Instagram, you'll be like, oh, let me learn and try to imitate what Emily Beverly is doing. And then on Twitter, you might be imitating like, I don't know, Daniel Vassallo, something like that. But the thing is, that's exactly the wrong approach, because we forget that they are at step 4 or even step 10, and we are actually step 1. So yeah, when you get to step 4 as well, you can do what they're doing, like tweeting wisdom, tweeting short tweets, and that will work. Or even just throw out a product and a lot of people would buy it. That would work. But the thing is, you're at step 1. So this is actually the biggest misconception, because no one really talks about what to do in step 1. And it makes sense because they need to sell you things, and they need to really be a teacher to move you back to step 1, to move themselves back to step 1, to be able to give you the relevant content. So I'm telling you that you should not go to my Twitter account and try to copy what I do. Not even me, because I am at probably like step 2 compared to everyone. And it would be a very different strategy if you're at step 1. So what I see a lot of people are doing right now is, oh my God, I just keep tweeting because they feel like they have to perform on stage, right? So this is the tweet button, and they keep clicking on it. They tweet maybe like 3, 4, 6 times a day. Most of the time, it's just like wisdom, theories. That's really not the right way to do it. And this is exactly why you think you're tweeting into the void. Like, why does no one care about me? Do I really have nothing valuable to say? It's nothing like that. It's just because it's not about tweeting and writing tweets at this moment when you're starting out. So let me just give you like some facts so that you can get a different perspective on this, right? I'm at 12K followers right now, and you might be fascinated by it. It's a great number, right? But yesterday, actually, by the time I screenshot this 14 hours ago, I launched my book. And you can tell from the replies and retweet, that adds up to about 92 people. And including the likes, let's just say 100 people, right? You can look at the numbers and see what's going on here. 12K followers, but only 100 people are there to help out Kevon. The number is not even 1%. Why is that? So the truth is, every audience has a core group behind it. That 100 people is my core group, who's like always there to help me out. Like when I put out something, they're like, oh, I'm so excited. I want to help Kevon out. So let me retweet it. Let me share it. But not 12K people will be helping me out. So this is the truth. So what that means is, just like this concert, you actually don't need to think that you're there to serve the entire audience. This little circle here, those are your super fans who's like yelling the whole night. You basically need a group of these people, and then the other people will gather around, and that's what an audience is. So don't worry about like 10K, worry more about the 100 people that you gather around you at any different stage, at all kinds of stages. These people might change, come and go, but it's always like 100, 200 people who's very, very important to your growth. So now you might be wondering like, oh, Kevon, what am I supposed to do now then? I think I know who my core group is. Well, the actions are actually quite simple. You can, when you tweet, you shouldn't be thinking, hey, I'm speaking to everyone on the internet. You should be tweeting directly to your core group. So make sure that some people from the core group is actually your target audience. They want your knowledge, right? And then you can hang out with them, make friends with them. It's not just about like creating smart tweets and inspire people. It's not like that. You can help them. You can answer their questions. You can hang out with them, have some fun. The last part is actually really important, like create things with them. So start with mini projects and then loop them in. When I first started out, Ayush was one of the person who's like, oh, Kevon, you're creating a community. Let me be part of it. And he plays a big part in it. And look at how we collaborate these days. It's exactly how audience work. So I'm not telling you that just do these three things and you have like a bigger and bigger audience. It's not like that. But that's the core on the social media side, on Twitter side. But at the same time, in parallel, you have to do amazing things. You have to build quality, recommendable products that people would just spread for you, word of mouth. So if you have these two tracks going on at the same time, I can guarantee you some kind of success on the internet. So most people, they don't have this picture. So they focus on the tweet button. Like, let me just keep talking, so people would show up at your door. No, it's nothing like that. So that's the first thing I want to give you, like a different perspective of audience building. And now let's get to the chaos and the stress of all this. If you have question, feel free to write it down in the chat or have it in mind, and then we'll do it at the end. But yeah, Ayush will probably tell me the questions at the end. So how do we battle this chaos? Like, first we need to understand why there's so many chaos on Twitter. The fact that the truth is we have a lot of things to worry about. First, we need to read the tweets, and then we need to reply them, and then we need to come up with our own tweets, and then we need to engage with people around us, and then we need to think about what to tweet, make friends, and last but not least, we need to do our work. Like if you have a day job, if you're creating a business, you need to do that. So a lot of people, when they are faced with all these challenges, the first thing they do is they're just very reactive. Like, oh, there's a notification. Let me reply to that. Oh, I tweet something out. I need to get 5-10 likes for it. Let me just DM the tweet to someone else, hoping to get those numbers up. So what I found is that a lot of people early in the journey, they're so reactive. They're always responding to whatever is happening. And of course, you get overwhelmed and then you get stressed out. Some people quit after a few months. Some people stick around, but they still don't get a lot of results. So to me, I think in order to battle the chaos, you have to be in the driver's seat. You have to be in control. So how do we get into control? The first thing is look at what is the normal behavior on Twitter. If you think you know how to use it, right? So this is the normal behavior. You tweet real time. You come to the computer and you think Twitter is a place where you just express whatever is on your mind. So you come tweet real time. Second of all, when someone reply to you, you're sitting here replying at the same time. So you spend a lot of time on Twitter. And then you think about what to write when you come to the computer. Like you have no plan on how to create those tweets. The worst thing that I recently found out is you are scrolling Twitter on the phone. Like for me, it's so useless. Like when I'm scrolling on the phone, I reply trash and it doesn't help anyone. So I'm trying to use less Twitter on my phone now. If I need to use it, I'll come to my computer. And the last thing is you have that mindset of like, oh, I need to be heard, I need to be seen, so let's get a few more likes or replies. You're trying so hard. Like people tell you to go to influencers' tweets to reply first, right? You're trying all these things. But it's just so exhausting. Like I have a young baby and I don't want to put myself in that situation. So I've been coming up with a more peaceful way that still get me results. And I'll label this normal behavior as like sales outreach. So you're doing a lot of things at the moment, but it doesn't really add up. Like your effort, each outreach, each email can get you sales, but after that, nothing. It doesn't compound. So I want to give you a new approach, which in business term, I would like categorize it as SEO. So if you don't know what SEO means, it's like creating content so that the search engine can show your content when people search. The best part about SEO is that you create things, you set up the foundations, and things can get rolling. It's like a snowball effect. It gets bigger and bigger without you putting more effort. So I've been thinking how we can do the same thing on Twitter. Like you shouldn't need to like tweet more to get more exposure. It doesn't make sense. You'll be burned out for sure. So let's erase what I just told you about this normal behavior and let's replace them with a bunch of new behavior. Oh, by the way, Ayush, people are coming in, so I keep clicking the admit button. But just FYI.
I'm sorry, I turned off the security settings.
Oh, okay, sure, no worries. So let me keep going. Okay. So now that we should erase the normal behavior, what's the new behavior that I propose to all of you so that you have joy on Twitter? First, you should never tweet real time. No, actually, I shouldn't say that. I should say you should try your best to schedule tweets so that you're really intentional about what kind of content you put out instead of just writing things out of your mind at that moment. And leave the tweet real time part as maybe 20%. Sometimes I'm launching a book, right? And I feel like, oh, I really want to retweet someone's tweet or quote tweet someone. You can do it real time. That's okay. But it should be like 20%. 80% you should be scheduling your tweets throughout the week and do it once. The second thing is you don't need to reply real time. I feel like we think we need to, but no one is there to watch you. So like if Nikhil replied to my tweet and I reply after I wake up, Nikhil can still get notification and we can still have that conversation. It will be less. I'm sure it will be less because it's after 12 hours, but who cares? Like, is that more important than stressing yourself out? Right? And then the next one is you shouldn't really sit down to think about what to tweet. Like if you can practice taking down ideas, so you have a notebook full of ideas, and each week you just spend one time writing all the tweets and putting it in the system, you feel so much better. And then of course, don't use Twitter on your phone. And last but not least, like instead of chasing the likes and replies, like just be okay if it get 1 like, be okay if it get 3 likes. But instead, you should look at it as, hey, if I get 1 reply from 1 tweet, that's 1 opportunity to make 1 connection. Just focus on replying to this person meaningfully. And think about how big of a network you can build if you can just build one connection a day. 365 in a year, and it's not just 365, like, because people have network effect, right? If I know Ayush can help me out, and that's another 365. So it's like crazy, contagious. So this is my way of battling the chaotic Twitter. And what to sum this all up is about getting into your own rhythm. Instead of being reactive, start to build your own system. Stop doing things real time. The world is there for you. You don't have to you don't have to have the FOMO, fear of missing out. And stop focusing on those like metrics like follower count, likes, impressions. I know a lot of people like to track their tweet impressions. I never look at them. Like, what the hell? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change my approach to things. But I built more and more friends on the network. So that's number 2. Okay, let's get to the last one, and then we can go into Q&A. This would be more interesting because, Kevon, how do you not fail when you're creating something new? The first thing I want to say is like, I don't see anyone. I only see Ayush, Nikhil. So let me ask you two. Have you built something no one wants? Raise your hand if you do.
Of course.
Nikhil, no. Wow. Well, I have built so many things no one wants. And if you have been building products, right? Oh, Surya said yes.
Yes.
Great. Like, if you have been building products, you know that the approach to it is not imagine the solution. The approach is to do user research, focus group, really understand their pain points. Don't ask what they want, but formulate your solution, right? So to me, like, Twitter is the fast track ticket to user research. Like, if you think Twitter is just about tweeting and then getting likes and get that follower number, you're missing a big opportunity here. Like, I use Twitter this way. I pretend I'm in a circle at any given time, and I am this girl in the circle, and I pretend to be a dummy, like I know nothing. So I try not to be smart. I try not to figure things out. I rely on people to tell me what they want. So let me tell you an example, which is how I created this book that got launched yesterday. If you look at the timestamp here, is September 4th last year. So I started writing this book 10 months ago, and I didn't write a single word. I just wrote the table of contents and I put it on Twitter, and I basically let everyone see it so that they can give me feedback. Like, is this attractive? You can see from people's reaction if they really want it. If they say this is interesting, it means bullshit. So you can gauge that, and then you can come back and say, oh, it's not good enough, right? And then later on, I have the table of contents, but as you can imagine, it's really hard for people to give feedback via a public tweet. So I have to be more proactive in this. So what I did is I grabbed 10 people who I think would be the target reader for my book, and I scheduled calls with all 10 of them in 2 days, 45 minutes each. And at the bottom, you can see in that call, I asked them to read my table of content out loud and let me know which part is interesting, which part is boring and useless. And I can watch their behavior. Like, when they show more excitement, I know that that chapter is gold. When they're like, when they have nothing to say, it means it's boring. So they tell me what to do, and then I refine the table of contents. And then later on, if you think writing a book is really about being really smart at something, I want to change your perspective as well. Like, you don't need to be the expert for that topic. You need to be good enough. But here what I'm doing is like, I know my stand. Like, I want to teach people, don't look at the follower count. But I don't know what they're thinking. Like, I don't even know what Ayush, Nikhil, Ara, Surya, what you're thinking. So I just pretend to be a dummy again, and I ask it to the public. And guess what? I hear so many things back, and now I can be like, okay, what does that mean to my book? How can I rephrase my introduction of the book so that more people understand what I'm trying to say? And then what happened was I actually got distracted by my course and I stopped writing for 4 months. And then I came back and I just give a quick update to everyone. And then let me just like fast track a little bit here. So after the table of content, I started writing. So I wrote the first draft, 10 chapters, and one of my friends, also a long-term friend, suggests me, hey, get your daughter to pick some beta readers. So I decided to pick 12 beta readers in that video, and I put the video up. So everything is in public. And guess what? I gave 2 weeks to the beta readers, and they give me so much feedback on basically line by line, like this chapter, this place, this analogy is shit. I really love how you talk about this with examples. I get line by line feedback from these people. Of course, not from everyone, but like 4 or 5 really good people giving good feedback. So that's pretty much my approach. And then I do it one more round, and then I decided to push out the book. In that process, I even asked them, hey, I'm thinking about adding videos to the book. Do you think this looks good? Which one is hot? Which one is less attractive? And people tell me, and then I get rid of the less attractive ones, and then I put in some new ones. So you can see I'm working with people the whole time through the product. And the result is that I haven't launched the book. The book was launched yesterday, but I got 2K in pre-order. And I actually don't know whether that is good or not, but some of my friends told me, hey, Kevon, with no book reviews, that's pretty good. Of course, I know people make way more, like crazy numbers, but to me, I'm quite happy with this number. And I really think it's because I've been building the book in public the whole time with these people. So what I'm telling you here is, let's go back to the topic. Why this point is about not failing. Of course, like with this approach, I'm not going to be the next New York Times bestseller. That's not my goal. It won't happen. I know that. But the truth is, this is what people want, and they have been telling me what they want through 10 months. So the book cannot fail. It will make some money. Some people will find it useful. So if you're struggling with like building products that don't even get one user or some revenue, then building it in public will guarantee you to have some kind of success if you are listening to people the whole time. So my last point here today, actually, the topic of today is build an engaged audience, right? I tell you, don't build it because what it means is if you say you want to build an engaged audience, your goal is, I need to get to 2K follower, I need to get a 5K follower. But that's actually the wrong approach. My number is, as long as you get to 600 followers and you're careful about who you surround yourself with, 600 followers, you probably have like 50 people who are close to. Just start working with these people and start small projects and use my method of like listening to them, observing, keep having conversation. And then you'll have small projects being a success, bigger project being a success, bigger project being a success. And then you kind of grow your confidence and credibility that way. So you don't need 10K follower. Like I'm telling you, with 12K followers, I sold like 42 books in the last 2 days. The number just doesn't make sense. So stop worrying about that and start working with the people around you. So that's about it today. I hope these 3 points are useful to you. Of course, you can find me on Twitter and YouTube, Meet Kevon. And let's do some questions and maybe some group photos, something that I like. All right, I'll hand it back to you, Ayush, for now.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, thanks for the great session, Kevon. It's always fantastic listening to you and learning from you. and just this idea, this concept of actively building in public, and starting with small products. I remember last year I built my first info product, and it had like very minimal sales. I don't even remember. And this year I launched my writing course, my writing book, and it had, and I actually, I copied you. I tweeted out that I'm building. That's the first tweet that you showed. I used the same format. I tweeted out the table of contents, and I started getting feedback from people, and I even started getting pre-orders from people. And again, I have a very small audience, but I've managed to like cross 1K in revenue because I, had this approach. But the very first product that I built, I did not know about this idea, I did not know about this approach, and I just built it for myself. And as you said, right, build a product that nobody wants. And that's how my initial start was on Twitter. But while building subsequent products and actively sharing my journey, I'm seeing taking baby steps along the way. I think that's the best way to organically, and being, authentic on the platform. Right. Right. Let's take some questions. So, like, Nikhil had a very interesting question. Like, how do we find our first 100 people, and how to join a group, and how do we find our initial set of friends on Twitter?
Yeah, good question, Akhil. Actually in the book I mentioned a few ways to do it, but I think it comes down to how to think about it, because I think we are so used to thinking, oh, my audience is creator, my audience is SaaS founder, my audience is coaches and consultants. Like, we label them with this kind of titles, but actually it's not the right way to think about it, because it's really hard to say, oh, I have coaches as my target audience, and where do I find coaches? It would be easier if you reframe it as like, what is the common struggle and common desire of this group of people? So for example, like for me, it would be grow a creator business to, what's that, 100,000 a year. So that's my goal. And instantly I can think of all the people who teach people to do that. Like Jay, I think Jay is one, Justin is one. Then I know exactly, oh, my people are near these people, because it's the common desire. And the common struggle is the same. Like, I struggle to show up on Twitter. I don't know what to say. That's a really key thing. And you can find so many boot camps or courses to talk about it. So common desire and common struggle will open you up to many things. And then in the book, I talk about like courses, communities. I don't know if you know, but if you go to someone's profile on Twitter, you can click more and view list, and then you can see all the lists they're part of. That's another way to kind of ride on someone's curated list to find, oh, Kevon is part of this creator group, and then there are like 50 more people in there. I find that to be useful, but I actually put it at the last method because I think it's a bit too hectic, a lot of digging. I think look for the leader and then look for the people around that leader is my top method. Yeah. Hope that helps you, Nikhil.
A lot of sense. So Saurav has a very interesting question. Well, he's a student. He says he doesn't have, I'm a student. I'm not an expert in anything. This is being an expert is a big is not. I'm not. I don't know. It's a big condition, it seems. But he wants a Twitter presence, and he's interested in web development. Like, what would be your advice to Saurav?
Yeah, let me tell you, 18 months ago, I didn't know anything about building in public. And I talked about how 18 months ago, I dropped everything. Like, my experience was in kids coding school. I failed a SaaS before, but this time I really want to try something new. So I was starting from scratch. I'm like you, right? So I think right now you definitely have imposter syndrome because I think you're still young, you're a student. But building public has another term, which is learn in public. So I know nothing about building public. And the way I overcome that is I did a ton of research. I did a ton of studying about the topic. And then I wrote the guide and give it out for free. So learn, process the data, present it in a good way, and just keep talking about it every day. But actually, don't just talk. Like I was going to the Indie Hackers Forum every single day at that period of my life, and I help everyone who posts in the Building Public group. So when you help someone, they remember you, right? So when you do it enough, everyone is like, oh, Kevon helped me for Building Public. He must be the guy. So you can kind of create an expertise for yourself. So yeah, don't let it stop you. You can do it.
For sure. Thanks for the answer. I think Chris has a very interesting question. He's asking what types of tweets are effective to start out on Twitter. I post Buddhist teachings in my own voice, so it's in the wisdom niche, but barely get any engagement or make any connections. I wonder if it's the wrong types of tweets to use.
Yeah, Chris, I love your self-assessment. I think that the way you point this out means that you know that there's a better way to do this, and there is. I think I don't know if you guys see this on Twitter. Sometimes I see like people only talk about their niche. Like for example, I am the meditation person, and all they tweet about is like, here's the 5 things you do in the morning. This is the 5 ways to do meditation, and everything is about meditation. That's not the right way to go. First, you need to understand like what we talked about, finding like-minded people, right? So do that and then start observing. Hey, when you post Buddha's teachings, I'm guessing you're talking about like something more mindful. Okay, I might be wrong. I'm just making it up. You might be teaching something more mindful here. So look at all these mindfulness influencers out there and look at how they talk. I'm pretty sure not every single tweet is about mindfulness. So sometimes there's some entrepreneurial journey, sometimes there's some personal struggle, and then sometimes mindfulness. Again, going back to my book, I'm referring to this is how you know I put all my effort into the book. In the book, I talk about your ideal Twitter presence is not just about your niche. 40% about your story, 20% about wisdom, 20% about helping friends, 20% about personality. And that's when you break it down like that, you become an interesting person and people will want to listen to you. And even if they're not interested in mindfulness, they follow you, Chris, because you're just interesting in general. And then you can slowly kind of put those mindfulness knowledge into their mind. So I think a last word about this question, like a lot of people think the only way to get traffic is to keep talking about their topic is wrong. Get people into the door and people would click on the links on your Twitter bio. I remember one tweet from Ayush saying that I don't know where these people come from, but they just click on the links on my bio. Exactly. It's not direct, but that's the Twitter behavior. Get people in for whatever reason, and then they would click. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, this is actually the first time I answered a question this way, but I really like it.
It's thanks. Great answer. Ayush has a question. You have your hand raised. Ayush, you want to go?
Yeah.
Ask
Hey,
question.
Ayush. Hey, Kevon. So first of all, very insightful session, and I'm sorry about there's some problem with my camera, so I won't be able to do that.
Sorry.
My question is related to what Chris asked, like the last question. It's maybe like on the similar lines. So with the time that I've been on Twitter, so have came across two schools of thoughts. So one is like you mentioned that you should not be talking about just a particular niche. You should be like talking what you want to talk about. Be yourself and all that. And the other school of thought that I've heard about is like, be inside your niche so that you get listed in that particular topic that you want to talk about. So, for example, if someone is talking about, like, for example, Chris said, like, about Buddhist teaching. So, if that person keeps talking about Buddhist teaching, so that came across, so that profile will be listed in those topics, so the related topics, such as teachings, or I don't know, whatever the related topics are. So, what is your suggestion on that? I mean, I'm sort of hanging in between these two lines. I don't know where to go. So on some weeks I'm constantly talking about the niche that I want to talk about, and in some weeks I'm just like, going everywhere that I can go. And but the thing is that, I know it's me. It's getting I'm asking a very long question. But the thing is that I like to talk about multiple things, and I have like created great connections by talking about different niches. But I struggle to get connections with the niche that I want. That's the thing I'm struggling. If you can help me.
So I think, yeah, these two school of thoughts, right? I think my honest answer is actually both. But let me explain. I think people say, oh, you have to be talking about your niche, or you have to be multi-passionate. We have to understand, like, when people give out advice like this, they don't have enough time to explain themselves, because when they explain, the tweet gets longer and no one's going to click like, right? So people tend to make what they want to say so short that it loses the context. So the reason why I say my honest answer is both is because you need a niche. I'm not saying you don't need a niche. You need a niche. For example, people know me as the one of the built in public guys. I need to be known for something. But what I'm saying is only 20% of your whole presence, 20% of your tweets should be full force into that niche, like teaching people about your niche. 40% of your presence should be about stories, you working on something on that niche. So it's still related to your niche, but it's not like dry knowledge, like this is the 5 things you do if you want to meditate in the morning. No, not dry. It's more like, oh, I'm building a community around this mindfulness topic, and I faced this challenge the other day, and this is how I overcome it. It's story unique to you. So you can say 60% is related to your niche. But the other school of thoughts is like multi-passionate. You can talk about whatever you want, right? That's the other 40%. Like supporting friends and showing your personality. You can do it in that 40%. So you can see it's never black and white. It's a little bit of everything. And it is because you want people to see you as an expert, but you also want people to like you as a person. They don't want to just follow someone who's like a robot talking about the niche all the time. So yeah, that's how you look at it. And I'll tell you, I have the niche of building public, right? But once you become known, once you get enough people to look at you as that person, you can expand your topic. Like for example, I expanded to create a business. I expanded to making Twitter friends. And it is okay. So don't think that once you nail down to a niche, you cannot talk about other things for like 10 years. It's not true, but you need to be known first. That's the first step. I forgot about your last question. Like hard to find people around that niche or something.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that like I usually enjoy talking about like the last 40% that you talk about, the last 40% of the tweets. So I really enjoy doing that. But so it's like most usually I do the top 60%, and on some weeks I do the top 60%, and on some weeks I do the last 40%. So so it's like
Yeah,
I have,
don't split it like that, because imagine
yeah,
I'm following you, Ayush. I'll be
yeah,
like, oh my god, this is so inconsistent. It should
sure.
be like day by day it's like 60-40. Yeah.
Yeah, now that I have the number, so it makes more sense. Now I know where I'm going wrong. So that makes sense. That answers
Right.
like the whole question. So thanks
Right.
for that.
But last word about the 40%, right?
Hmm.
Even though I say you can talk about your personality, like you cannot talk about everything. I see people talking about politics, news, blah blah blah. For me, I pick three things about my personality and I stick to it. For example, family, baby. That's my thing.
Yeah.
If you don't like babies, you just stop following me. So I don't talk about like I love Manchester United playing football, but I never talk about them
Oh
because
wow.
it's just gonna confuse your audience when you're all over the place. So yeah, that's my last word.
All right. The last 40% has some constraint in it. Got it. Got it.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes, yes.
Thanks, Kevon. Thanks for that. And thanks, Ayush, for
Thanks.
this
Sure,
insightful
sure,
event.
sure. I would love it. So Kevin is short on time. He has to go. Thank you for the session. But Kevin loves to do group photo in all of his sessions. I would love it if people can turn on their cameras for 2 minutes, and we can have a nice group photo. That would be
Of
cool.
course, you don't have to,
It'll be just me and
but it's
Kevin.
just nice. Wow, a
Nice,
lot of people
nice,
are
nice,
turning
nice.
on.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, Wait a second. How do you take a screenshot from here?
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, please, please, please.
Okay, do we do like
You
a
you
high
better
five?
everyone do a high five.
3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for having
Awesome.
me. I
Thank
have
you.
fun.
Yes. Thank you, Kevon, for coming. It is really, really insightful, very useful, and I know you have to go very soon, so I won't take much of your time. Everyone, you'll get a recording of this session by tomorrow, as you can revisit it. And yeah, and the next session I've just got confirmation about the next session. Somebody very special is going to be there. It will be around second week of June. I'll let you know. I'll let you know by email and by Twitter. So watch out for it. It'll be very, very interesting. It'll be a lot of fun. And thanks for coming, Kevin. It means a lot. Sparing your time. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting. Thanks for showing up,
Uh,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
also,
you.
everyone
Thanks.
get Kevin's book, Find Joy in Chaos.
All right. See you all
Great book.
around. Yeah.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye bye.